lot of the customers are into role play, like either like a pet role play or like a costume role play. I mean, once we have a customer and he comes in with this polar bear costume, it was like a big costume, like full polar bear, So it's very diverse. Sometimes the customers can get like very creative, and that's what I like about my job, because it's like you never know what is going to happen that day. So I had a pretty normal childhood. I think when I was little, I wanted to be either archaeologist or psychologist. So later I decided to go with psychology, and that's what I studied in university. Originally, I thought I'm gonna go into neuropsychology because I got very interested in neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's disease and all sorts of dementias.
What was it that interested you about psychology?
I guess I was always interested in people, why they behave in a way they behave, like why they think in a way they think. And also, like, a lot of my classmates, they knew that they want to be a doctor, they knew that they want to be a lawyer, and I just enjoyed like being around people.
So how and why did you decide to work in a brothel?
This was actually a pretty big coincidence. I was 22, I studied psychology. I thought I'm going to be a neuropsychologist. One night, I found this article, and it was named Psychologist in a Whorehouse. They call me a pimp, but I protect women. And so I decided to read it, and it was just so interesting. It was with a psychologist that works in a brothel as a manager, and he spoke about the way how they do the business, how they treat women as their customers, basically, how they respect the women. And he also spoke about the sexuality, like how society views sexuality. And I was like, that's it. This is my dream job. And it just clicked. I don't know why, but it just clicked. And I knew I want to do this. So at the same night, I decided that I found the company he works for. And I wrote them an email that I want to work there, that I don't have like any experience with the sex work, with the industry, but I just really want to do this. I was 22, so I didn't have like any experience with managing people. I went through like 3 rounds of the interview, and at the end they basically offered me the job, and since then I'm there.
How did you go about telling like friends and family? Did you tell them immediately? What was their reaction?
Yeah, that was like a little bit tricky because for the first few weeks, like I didn't tell nobody. Not because I would be ashamed of it, but just because I just wanted to see like if it really works for me, I kind of like kept it as a secret for like few weeks, and then when I finally decide, yes, this is for me, I want to do this for the rest of my life, then I just went to my family and I was like, yeah, this is what I do. And they were like, what? What do you do? But they were like really okay, like my father, he was super supportive, My mom, she was like a little bit in shock, he was like, so you're a pimp or what? And I was like, no, I'm not, And then I explained her like what I do, and then she was like, yeah, that sounds really cool actually.
And what was your first day like as a brothel manager like?
I just remember when I first walked into to this building, and I had some sort of idea, like, I have no idea how it's going to look like, and I walked in and there's a reception, customer care service, and then I met the owner and he showed me around, and it looked like a normal company, I was like actually surprised like how normal it looked like. So there was IT department, there was HR department, technician department. So I was like very, very surprised by the normality.
And what had you imagined it might be like before you walked in?
I don't know. I had like some sort of ideas, Even when I read the article with the psychologist, I was like, wait a minute, I thought like managers should wear like a fake fur, like a golden chains, those kind of stuff. And it was like a normal guy, And then I walk in and like everybody was so normal,
Can you just tell me a little bit about the brothel that you work in?
We as a company, we are in the business for 30 years. We are actually one of the oldest company in our country. And I would say that we are one of the biggest as well. And we have around 100 rooms that we rent for the sex workers. So for you as a customer, you just walk in, you pay the entrance, and there is an area when there are the rooms. And then there is a like chill out area where you can just like hang out, have a drink, you know, talk with the friends, because we are not focused just on the like sexual service itself, you know, but we provide just the whole, you know, experience of like going to the brothel, you know, without the pressure to actually go to the room, you know, and to pay the services of the sex workers. And like a lot of the people actually do this, you know, it's like sometimes they just like to hang out in the place like this, you know, they just like to, you know, come for a chat with the guys, you know, and that's it.
And what is it that makes the brothel kind of legal as opposed to other brothels that might operate in Europe?
Our state said that brothels, if they operate on those kind of conditions, they are legal. So if you want to own one or like run one, you need to obtain the license. And this license needs to be renewed every single year. So we have like a lot of inspections coming in. We have also like police to come for regular checkups.
Who is a typical sex worker?
So there is actually not a typical sex worker. They range from 21, which is the legal age to start at this industry, up to 60s. These are girls that study in the university. These are the girls that have like a normal job, you know, working in a bank or anywhere. These are the girls that they have husbands, they have children. Some of them are obviously divorced. Some of them, they obviously do this for the money, because the best earning girls with us, they can make around 50,000 euros per month. So this is a huge motivation. But some of them, they do this because it's like part of their lifestyle, you know, they like to have fun. They would either have sex, but they decide to have a sex for money, which kind of makes sense, you know. Some of them, they have this like some sort of escape from their like normal boring life. So some of them, they are married and the husband, he doesn't even know that the wife is sex worker. A lot of the people thinks that sex work is like the last resort, that a lot of the women decide because there is like no other option, but it's actually not true. It's like most of them, I would say like 100% of them, they have different options, but they just like rationally, they decide to do this. And for some of them, they thought they will do this like for the 2-3 years, and then they find out that it actually, they like the industry, you know, they like the work, and that's when they decide to make this for the like their whole career, you know. We have like many women that have university degrees, you know, they speak 6 languages, you know, they can be anywhere else, but they still decide that this works for them, and it works for them so well that they will just focus on this.
And what are the typical clients that come into the brothel?
As there is no typical sex worker, you know, there is also not a typical client. Every day we have like between 500 and 1,000 people coming in, you know. Actually, the most busiest day is it's a Valentine's Day. We have a lot of young guys coming in, you know, to lose their virginity. We have a lot of British groups, you know, like party British groups coming in. We have also a lot of women coming in. We have people that are like super successful, but they don't have a time or energy to pick up the girl. So they just decided like the cost benefit of like paying the professional works the best for them. Sometimes we have married guys coming in and they're like, yeah, it doesn't work, the sex life, but I don't want to find a mistress because I don't want to break the relationship. So this works the best for them. Sometimes we have women, you know, that are like curious to try something with other girl, but they are like not sure about it, so they just come to our place. Sometimes we have disabled people because a lot of the sex workers are actually skilled in working with disabled. Not everybody, but we do have some. And there is like this misconception that like coming to the brothel means that the person is loser, but that's not the case, you know, like most of them, they are like very successful, and like also the people that are coming in, you know, they have some sort of like different fetishes that they would like to explore, but sometimes they are like maybe too shy to tell this to their partners because they might judge them. This is like very typical for the BDSM clients because they feel that they would, if they would tell this to their partner, she might judge them, you know, or like the the dynamic in their relationship would be different, so they rather decide to pay the professional for those kind of services.
What sort of services can you provide? Is there a list?
I mean, we don't have the list because this is pretty much up to the girls. So they decide, and like even when we have some sort of girls that, for example, we have a girl that does like very extreme squirting, you know, but sometimes she just comes to the work and she's like, nah, today is not my day, I will just do the normal service. So we don't have this list because like we can't promise anything. It's pretty much up to the girls. So a lot of the customers are into role play, you know, like either like a pet role play or like a costume role play. It's like usually those who like to experience this role play, they often bring the costume as well. So sometimes we have once we have a customer and he comes in with this polar bear costume, you know, and it was like a big costume, like full polar bear, you know. So it's very diverse. Sometimes the customers can get like very creative, and that's what I like about my job, you know, because it's like you never know what is going to happen that day. We had a customer and he was quite regular, and he likes to dress up as a dog, you know, and sometimes he brought like the bowls for the food and for the water and like little snacks, you know, and he wore those like a collars, like a dog collars, and he had this like little like a dog bed, and he basically just put it inside of the room. And the girl was giving him the orders, like, you know, sit down, lay down, you know, be nice. And meanwhile, she was taking other customers, you know, and sometimes the dog, you know, he liked to be like a nice dog, you know, he was just like standing there, you know, watching them as a dog. Sometimes he liked to chew on another customer's shoes. So yeah, we get a lot.
What's the most popular request?
So a lot of the guys, they want to experience anal sex, but not to be the one who's doing it, but to be the one who's like receiving it. It's actually very typical, you know. I would say like this is the most common. A lot of the guys actually come in and they don't want to even have sex. You know, they just want to be like heard, to speak with somebody. So this is also like very typical, you know, because a lot of the girls, they think that the sex work is just about sex, you know, and some of them, they have this mentality, you know, like there's a customer coming in and she's like, okay, so, you know, take your clothes off, we will do it just very quickly. And he's like, no, I don't want to even like have sex, you know, I just really want to talk with you. And sometimes it's funny, you know, because once we had this complaint and there was a guy coming in and he was like, yeah, I just really want to, you know, experience anal sex. And there were two girls, and they were like, yeah, okay, let's go, you know. And like 10 minutes later, I saw him like running from the room, and I was like, what happened, you know? And he was like, yeah, well, I wanted to have anal sex, but I didn't want to be the one who's being So sometimes it's like, it's just very, it's about communication, yeah.
What's a typical day like for you working in the brothel?
Me as a manager, I'm the highest ranking person in the company, like just below the owners. So I come to the club, and as I said, like we work during the night. So I come there 7 p.m. and my shifts ends at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I come at 7. And I start with like reading the emails, reports, the CRM to just see like what happened the day before and what needs to be addressed this day. And then at the beginning of the night, I have interviews with new women that want to work with us. Like the philosophy of the interviews, it's not like I would give them a banana and tell them like to show me, you know, how you make a blowjob. This is not what we do. So we basically sit down and we have this philosophy to give almost everybody a chance. I never decide based on like my personal preferences. It's like basically everybody has a chance, and we let like the invisible hand to decide. And there are sometimes there are like women, and I remember like when I was there, I think it was like 2 months, and there was this woman coming in, and she was like in her 50s. She was like a little bit chubby, not the typical sex worker, you know, but she has this like really good vibe. So I decided like, yeah, you can just, you know, join us. And right now she's been here for 8 years now, and she's one of the most successful sex workers that is there. The system that we have, it's like quite different than the other clubs. So with us, the business is completely up to the girl. So she decides about the prices, she decides about the services, because not every girl does full service sex work. So some of them, they specialized in like BDSM. We have a girl and she does like exclusively just escorting. Then we have girls that provide only like lesbian shows. So they also decide about the services that she wants to provide. Also about the schedule. So we never tell them, hey, you should come to work. This is up to them, you know, and it's also up to them what type of the clients that they will accept. So they can refuse the client anytime. And what is the most important thing that we do is that we are never part of the deal between the girl and the customer. And this is, it sounds logical, but some of the girls, they are coming from the clubs where the manager decide what she will do. So for example, when there is a customer coming in and he's like, yeah, I want to have a blonde that does anal. So basically the manager just picks up and he's like, you need to do this. So we never do this. And the girls, they need to speak to the customers by themselves. So we are never part of the deal. And then there are like some like random things that happens during the shift. So there are like conflicts, there are alarms. That means that the panic button is being pressed. It's being pressed when the sex worker feels that she's in danger, or sometimes when the argument is just way too much and she doesn't want to carry it on. So that's when the panic button is pressed, and we have a staff that is trained to be there within 8 seconds until like from the time when the panic button is pressed. They run there, and then I come and then I need to solve the situation. I've been there 8 years and like nothing happened, like nothing violent. It's usually either an accident because it looks like a normal button. So sometimes the customers, they try to press it. Sometimes the girl, they just press it, you know, because it's just like right next to like normal buttons. And like usually it's because of some sort of arguments. Sometimes the customer just fall asleep afterwards, you know, and she can't wake him up.
What are the other situations that you've had to deal with as a manager? Any other incidences where you've had to kind of help out the client or the sex worker? Sometimes
we need to deal with the complaints, and that's when the customer comes to us, and either he didn't like something or like something went wrong, and obviously there are no cameras in the room. So like I have his version of the story and the version of the girl. And I need to speak with them both. Sometimes like the very, very typical complaint is about that he didn't like the service. And that's when I go to check the cameras, because I can see like what time he went to the room and what time he leave. So I go to check the cameras, and when I can see that the customer spent there like 5 minutes out of like 1 hour, then I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, you know, you didn't like it. But sometimes the customer, this happened I think last week. The customer, he spent 2 hours with a girl, and like after 2 hours he came to me and he was like, I didn't like it, I want my money back or a new girl. And I was like, this is not how it works, you know? And he was like, yeah, but I didn't like the service. And I was like, yeah, so why you stay there for 2 hours, you know? And I often compare this like going to the restaurant, you know, eating the whole food, and then you're like, I didn't like it. So like, why you didn't leave earlier, you know? So sometimes I need to deal with those kind of situations as well.
What are the worst types of customer for you to deal with?
Yeah, the drunk ones. Definitely the drunk ones that like don't understand that even if they are in a brothel, it's still like a normal place, you know? So probably like running around naked, it's not a good idea. And like also like the British party groups, they can get like quite wild, you know? And sometimes I'm like, guys, this is maybe too much, you know?
And what do you think of society's views around sex work?
I think it's very stupid because sex work is the only activity that it's legal. Almost everybody does it, but when it comes to selling it, just people don't like to see this. And there are like different type of the services that we sell, you know. It's like you can be a nanny, you can be hairdresser, you can do somebody sells taxis, you can even do like a palm reading, and this is all okay. But sex work, for some reason, is not. I think sex work should be definitely legal, but this is actually not enough, because here in the UK, like the sex work is not illegal, so you will not get arrested if you are a sex worker, if you provide this service, which is okay. But for example, if you decide to hire a person or to work with other sex workers just to give you like more protection in the same flat, this is when it becomes illegal, and some of you might be could be arrested under the pimping laws. So sometimes it just doesn't really make sense, because if you say like sex work is legal, but there are like no structures in which the sex workers can work in the safe environment, you make it dangerous, you know. So that's why I don't think like only the sex work should be legal, but also like the brothels should be legal. Because we as a brothels, we need to have the license for it. We need to provide like safe place, all the healthy regulations. There are inspections coming in every year, like multiple times a year. There are police people coming in, and that's how you actually provide sex workers the best environment they can work in. I don't want to glamorize the industry. It definitely has the flaws. And that's actually why I started to study PhD, you know, because I like to do the research on the industry, to actually show the best practices, to talk about the industry, because I think this is like very important, you know, to actually be an insider and to provide others with that knowledge, you know, because a lot of the research is done by the people and they don't know nothing about the industry, you know, and they just come in, they speak very briefly with the sex workers, but the girls, they don't trust them, you know. It's like they don't want to even speak with them sometimes, you know, and they interpret the things that the girls say like completely different, you know.
What do you think makes you so good at your job?
I don't know if I'm good. I hope I'm good. I guess it's just this thing that I care about people. You know, it's like I care about the girls. I try to provide them with the best possible environment, and I also care about the customers, you know. Also to see the girls thriving, you know, because sometimes the girls come in and like they don't know their potential, you know. They don't know like how successful they can be, like how financially independent they can be. They don't know how to set the boundaries. They don't know how to communicate with the clients. They don't know how to stand up for themselves. And I can see like over the years that they learn those kind of things. And sometimes, because most of the girls, they are staying with us like long time, so I can see like the progress and like their personal growth. And I think like this is the most rewarding.
And then, yeah, I'll come straight into my room. I'll already be like half naked in lingerie or anyway. And yeah, we'll just kind of just take it from there. It usually flows really naturally, you know, just start off kissing and start off like then suck their or like see what they want to do, if they want to take the lead, and then end up having sex.